Hey guys, I hope that you're doing well. I wanted to hop on today briefly for a few minutes and just share some of the things that I have learned. Today, July 6, 2019, I got engaged to the most amazing, beautiful, gorgeous, hot, amazing, yes, I've said it twice, person ever, Melanie. And I wanted to share some of the brief moments and the things that I have learned in just 1 year. So we'll be married for a year in September 9th, but we got engaged a year ago. And as I meditated over the last couple of days, there are so many things and so many scenarios that came to mind when we started dating or courting to the point where we got engaged, married, and to where we are today. And it's just amazing to see, as I meditated on some of the prophetic words that we received at our wedding, that Apostle Eckhart came and prophesied. He was the one who married us.
We're going to pray and minister to them prophetically. We believe in the prophetic. And often when people are getting married, sometimes so many negative things have been spoken
And imparted unto us some of his prophetic words. Kevin Leal was there.
But I will send my presence upon the promise. I will send my presence upon the promise.
Catherine Summers Kelly sang a beautiful song over us, and it was just so powerful.
Your voice tells me that I am yours and you are mine.
That was one of my desires as I was growing up, to always have people who would pour into me over the years come and be a part of a highlight that it wasn't just gonna last a small time, but it was gonna be there for eternity. And there were prophetic words that were shared that have already come to pass from our marriage, from our wedding moment, all the way up until now. So it's amazing to see what God does. And you know, prior to us getting married with Melanie, one of the things that happened that I discovered is that God was giving us shared experiences. For example, one time we were in Dallas with our friends, and we were in two opposite parts of the house, and it's like, I told her later, like, I felt this at this time, and she said, oh my God, I felt the same thing. And God was visiting us in opposite places with the same experience. He was giving us joining experiences. He was giving us something to join us, something that we can relate to. You know, one of the things that happens when you meet a friend, when you get in a relationship, when you get into whatever venture you're in with a relationship period, whether it's business, life, marriage, is that when you have reference points that you can connect with each other, it's almost like you don't even have to explain yourself, because that experience gives you that self-explanation moment. You can just say, yeah, we get it. And so it's that kind of thing that God was giving us. It was multiple times. We traveled to multiple services, and we experienced the presence of God at the same time. We got our demons cast out by our spiritual fathers. So it was an amazing transformation over the course of really less than a year, and it was just so good to see how faithful God has been over the last year. And I'm so excited for the future and so excited for what God has to do even in the days to come. So if you're in a relationship, if you're not sure, if you're single, wherever you're at today in your journey, whether you're again single or married, I just want to encourage you from a young's perspective, marriage point of view. I want to thank all of those who have been married for years and have served as a example, as a role model that we can look at. And to all of those who are just starting, just like us, be encouraged. Know that the best is yet to come. No matter how opposite you are, no matter how different you may be, God put you together for a reason. You know, one of the things that I have learned over the years by being a student and a mentee is that is that God gives us personalities. He wired us uniquely. And so one of the things that I have learned is that opposites attract, but then they attack. When you're not redeemed and you don't have the consciousness of Christ, you will attack the opposite of who you are. You know, my wife, she takes so much details and so much time to process everything. She has to take a long time to make decisions. When me on the other side, if I see something, I want to make a decision quickly if I like it. I don't really need a lot of time. I don't need a lot of details. I'm just kind of like the pick and go type of person. And it was amazing that even in a decision we made today, I was like, okay, we're gonna do this now. And she was like, no, hold on, we gotta think about this. We gotta need 3 days to analyze it. And I was just joking with her, because it wasn't that serious of a decision. It wasn't life-changing or altering, but just the way that God designed her, which I have learned to understand, is that is who she is, and I just have to accept it. I mean, she doesn't have to kill it. She just has to crucify it, just like I have to crucify certain parts of my personality that are definitely not positive. So God gave us those personalities, but we just have to learn to blend the two. And I'm sure that there's going to be challenging times in the future where things may come up that I just want to make a decision and she may not, and I just have to learn to humble myself and be that person. But one of my commitments to her when we first made our vows was that I was going to be the best version of me that I could be for her and for God. And so I'm still committed to that journey, still perfecting myself, and still sanctifying and killing my flesh daily so that I can serve her at the best capacity that I can. And one of the things that we were having a discussion before I came on here was because I was trying to figure out what else we can talk about. And one of the things that we discovered at the beginning of our journey was that we had passive aggressive confrontation or passive aggressive conflict resolution moments. And over the course of the last year, I was just telling my wife how much she has improved in just communication, and this has been some of the greatest ways that we can learn to understand each other, because so many times just in relationships period, it doesn't even take marriage to know this, that oftentimes it does get hard to just communicate a perspective with somebody, especially if that person doesn't have the same drive as you do. If they're more aggressive or if they're more bold, they can tend to become more distracted or more intimidated and not share anything with you, and they will just internalize it. But God gave us that person and that partner so that we could in fact have those moments of conversation. And so as I look around at the video today, it would be impossible for me to be sitting where I'm sitting with the background that I have on this video, because none of those details in this video I would have ever considered. I don't care about the look of the thing, but it took my wife that God formed for me to put those details in my life. And it's funny, I'm gonna put a picture up of the before and after of my bedroom, and I posted this just a few days after we got married. But my wife upgraded my life times 100,000 million points. I know that's a lot, but it was amazing. And you guys are gonna laugh at this picture. You're probably laughing now as you see it. It's just how God takes the details in somebody who knows what they're doing versus somebody who just wants to get by. So to the men out there, if you're in a place where you're just now coming into a relationship with your wife and she's trying to apply the details, you know what? I want to say this. It has been so humbling for me to be able to sit through those moments where I have to force myself to learn something that I didn't know before. But it took the smile in my wife's face when it was finished to realize how much important that is. So even though it gets annoying, even though it gets frustrating, even though you may just want to be like, I don't want to do this, don't do it with a bad attitude. Just do it because it makes the person that you're gonna spend the rest of your life with the happiest. It makes them feel loved, and it makes them feel like they have a part in your relationship. So many people, whether you're a male or a female, I have talked to over the last couple of months, say that their first year of marriage was probably the hardest. And I can by testimony attest that that is the complete opposite for us. Before we got married, everybody was telling us like, oh, get ready for your first year, it's gonna be rough. And I decided that I wasn't gonna let somebody else's history become mine. God has a story about me in heaven, and God has a story about you in heaven. And I decided that no matter what it takes, no matter what it looks, I am going to live God's story for my life. I'm not gonna be influenced by the negative experiences that somebody else has had. I want to live out for me what God has for me. And so I want to encourage you today that if you're in a place where you're trying to understand where you're going, where you're going to be in your future, maybe a week or two after we got married, my wife and I were in California, and I was preaching before we went to our honeymoon. And we went to, I think we were in San Francisco, we were in Modesto or wherever, Vallejo, California, and we went to there, and somebody came up to us, and the lady asked my wife and said, what does it take for you to deal with the anointing that this man of God has in his life, and how are you able to mesh with it? And that has over the years been one of the most aggravating or frustrating questions to me, because I always say, you don't get into a relationship with the preacher, you don't get into a relationship with the prophet, you don't get into a relationship with whatever title that is. You're marrying that person. even though that gift is consistently there, when you leave the pulpit, when you leave that moment, you are marrying the person. You're not marrying the gift. Sure, it comes in the package, sure it comes involved, and there are times where those flexibilities will overlap into your home, but 99.999% of the time, when I'm with my wife, I just want to be myself. I don't want to be the person who just is known with their wife for being that person that's in the pulpit. I want to be myself. Not that I'm putting a persona when I'm in behind the pulpit, but I'm simply just saying it should not be where one has to be considered over the other. I wanted to, when I was looking for a marriage, I wasn't looking for a prophet. I wasn't looking for a pastor and my wife. I was looking for the person that I was going to spend my time, and if she was to become, when she joined me, we were going to be in that journey of ministry together. But it didn't determine whether she was good enough or not. It didn't determine whether I was good enough for her or not. It simply set us apart to say, I'm not looking for a ministry gift. I am looking for the person. I want the person behind the pulpit. I want the person behind the makeup. And that's what joined us together. And so I want to encourage you, and I wanted to just breathe this on you today, because if you've been in this place where you're just, my God, I don't know what is happening and what my relationships are not working, whether you're in a friendship, in a business relationship, or simply you're just in a marriage and you're young like me, you're in a place where you're just trying to figure it out. Don't think that you have to have every answer. The journey is a part of God's process. He gave it to us so that we can discover ourselves, so that we can discover who He made us. And my wife and I are having such a tremendous time at discovering each other. So I love her so much, and she is she's definitely the best second yes that I gave in my life. My first yes was to God, and my second yes was to my wife, and I'm committed to living this out for the rest of my life. So I want to encourage you guys, and thank you so much for joining me for this brief moment with you on What's Next.